Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a review on the Nikkietutorials and Beautybay collaboration palette that she created. I'm going to be showing you swatches and 2 tutorials on how I created these 2 eye looks. So if you would like to see that, then keep on watching.
So I'm going to start off by applying the P.Louise base all across my lid using a fluffy brush. Then I'm going to apply the shade 5 AM on the outer corner of the eye. With a smaller brush, I'm going to take the shade Mealer and I'm going to apply that to the crease, blending out the first shade. Then with a fluffy blending brush, I'm going to take the shade Basic Truth and I'm going to apply it to the crease. Now with a flat packing brush, I'm going to apply the shade Underground all over the lid. Now taking a pencil brush, I'm going to go into the shade Blend and Snap and apply that to the lower lash line. I'm then going to take the shade Zomer and I'm going to buff that out using a fluffy blending brush. Now I'm going to take the shade Ivy on a flat brush and apply that to the inner corner. Now I'm going to prime my other eye using the P.Louise base. I'm going to apply the shade Meek Eye onto the outer corner of the eye, blending it inwards. Now I'm going to take the shade Redemption and blend that over top of Meek Eye. Taking a fluffy blending brush, I'm going to take the yellow shade Vla and I'm going to blend out the shade Redemption. Taking the shade Vla and applying that to the inner third of the eye. Taking the shade All In on a flat brush and applying that all over the lid. On a pencil brush, I'm taking the shade Amsterdam and I'm blending that onto the lower lash line. I'm then going to take the shade Plot Twist and smoke that out. Now applying the shade Tutorials to the inner corner of the eye. Off camera, I applied eyelashes from PrimaLashes in the style Dainty D30 and finished the rest of my face.
So in my package I got obviously the palette. It came in this black like glittery box packaging with obviously like the nice little note on the back of it. You got that on the packaging and on the actual palette, which is a nice little thing to have, like a note from Nikkie. I feel like this makes this palette even more of a collector's item, which is a very, very nice touch. They also gave you obviously like a little card with the name of each shade and how best to apply it. Obviously the shimmers, because of the texture of the shimmers, because they are that like Colourpop Super Shock Shadow formula, the shimmers are best applied with a finger or a brush. If you want full opacity, I recommend going in with your finger. If you would like to build up the intensity, a brush is better for that, or if you just want like a sheer wash, a brush is better for that. The mattes obviously best with a brush. I recommend applying these shadows on over a tacky eyeshadow base, so something like the P.Louise base, something that can really grip onto the shadows. I mean, Nikkie is a fan of the P.Louise base, so she's very much a fan of like a tacky eyeshadow base. Leave your eyeshadow base unset just so that you can get the most pigment out of these shadows. The palette also came with a pop socket. There were two options. It was kind of like a lottery with what you were going to get. So you either got the light side pop socket, which was this like gorgeous little pink one, which is what I got, or you got like a dark side pop socket, which was similar to the packaging of the dark side of the palette. So what are my thoughts on this palette? The shimmers, very similar formula to the Colourpop Super Shock Shadows, best applied with a finger for full coverage. If you want like a light amount of shimmer, or you want to be able to build up the opacity, a brush is better for that. I like the matte formula. There's a little bit of kickback, as with most matte formulas. That's pretty typical of Beautybay shadows anyways. The mattes usually have a little bit of kickback, but they're very, very pigmented, and they blended and applied very, very smoothly. There's no patchiness whatsoever. There was no like weird darkening of certain areas when I applied these shadows, which is really, really nice. The colours applied very opaquely, very nicely. The neutral shadows obviously applied gorgeously. The shimmers took a little bit of building up, but they applied really, really well, and they look really, really high shine. You get two mirrors, so the dark side mirror is a magnifying mirror and the light side mirror is a regular mirror. I like that there's a magnifying mirror in here because I'm short-sighted, so having a magnifying mirror is really helpful for when I'm doing eye looks, or even when I'm doing intricate eye looks, so that I don't have to have the mirror like smack in my face. I can hold it a bit further back and still see what I'm doing, which is really, really lovely. I think that's smart of her to include that. I know that there are a lot of comparisons with the shades in this palette to the Shane Dawson Conspiracy palette. I'll put that up here. But in my opinion, though the shades are like similar, I think if you have the Shane Dawson one, I don't think you would need to get this one if you have the Shane Dawson one, because the colours are quite similar. But I don't think that Nikkie intentionally copied the Shane Dawson one. Palettes take a while to produce. They take like 7 months because you have to wait. You have to put in an order obviously, and Beautybay doesn't do things in-house, so they have to put in an order to a factory, and that means it's going to take like 7-ish months, maybe even longer, because of COVID and sourcing the ingredients for the eyeshadows to create a palette. And on top of that, it just doesn't seem like something Nikkie would do, like copy someone else's eyeshadow layout or eyeshadow colours. But also, no eyeshadow palette has like every eyeshadow palette like layout, formula, colour selection has kind of been done already, so you know, it's kind of hard to not repeat shades or similar colour layouts to other brands, and I have like 50 palettes that look the same and have the same colour layout. Does that mean every brand was copying each other? No, it just means that there's so many colours out there and there's so many palettes out there that there's bound to be a couple palettes that look similar and have the same colour layout, have the same shades, but that doesn't mean anyone copied anyone. It just means that there's only so many iterations of like colour layouts you can create. But yeah, I do like the colour selection. I wish that there was a black and I wish that there was a white, because the darkest shades you have in this palette for like deepening the crease are the blue Amsterdam, the brown 5 AM, and this like purpley burgundy shade called Slasher. Honestly, the shade 5 AM, that deep brown, is not as dark as I'd want it to be. I have it on the outer corner here today and I wish it was a little darker, just because I feel like I prefer like a really deep dark brown, and this to me is more of like a mid-tone to deep brown. I wish that there was a black in here so that I could darken my eye looks even further if I wanted to, and I wish that there was a white in here so that I could mix that with other shades to create like lighter tones of those shades. And I also use a white to like buff out the edges of like really bright colourful shades, to create like a nice like transitional blend. I am worried about the formula of the shimmers because they are like a Colourpop Super Shock shadow, so I am worried that they will dry out over time because they have that wet feeling to them. So that is something to note, that they might dry out over time and you might have to use like Duraline or setting spray or something to like rehydrate the shadow. I don't know if that's true or if that's going to happen yet. I haven't heard any complaints about the Momo Mitchell palette with Beautybay, and that had I think they have the exact same formula, because I heard the Momo Mitchell palette shimmers are very similar to this in the fact that they're very like putty like. But other than that, I don't really have any other pet peeves aside from like the way the palette opens. I don't like it opens how it's like a booklet format. I would much prefer it open like a regular palette. But other than that, I don't really have any other complaints. The formulation is amazing. The price point is really good, especially for like the formula of this palette. I think they did an amazing job with that. I think I'm also really proud that Nikkie came out with a palette like this, because she deserves to come out with a good collaboration. I know that people have been waiting for a while for her to announce maybe that she's coming out with a brand or that she's coming out with a collaboration, because when you think Nikkietutorials, you think eyeshadow, you think bold, bright, intense looks, but also like natural soft glam looks, and I feel like this palette really screams Nikkietutorials. Like, it has your brights, it has your neutrals, and it has like the most gorgeous metallic formulas. So I'm very happy that I've bought this palette and I have it in my collection now. Congratulations to Nikkie and Beautybay. This palette is amazing, and I really hope that she releases more products like this in the future. If you're considering picking up this palette for the restock, I definitely recommend it. I will leave a link down below to where you can sign up for the emailing list so you can get notified of when the restock actually happens. Yeah, congratulations to Nikkie and Beautybay. This palette's amazing. So that's it for the review. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!